Hi everyone and welcome to my new video. Today I want to answer you the question that I've been getting a lot on Twitter and other platforms over the last 2 years I guess since I've been making it. How do I create all my photos that I post on Twitter, Instagram and wherever else? I will go over a little bit of the history, how I kind of started taking my photos and then how I do them nowadays. And also just give you a little bit of like pointers to just show you that it doesn't really take that much to take great photos. You don't need expensive equipment, you don't need expensive lights, you don't need a fully set up photo studio or anything. All you need is a camera of your choice, a little bit of creativity, and you can create whatever you want. So let's roll right into the video and then get right into the topic. So, to kind of go a little bit over the history, how I've been taking my photos, it's all started kind of in my teenage years, just using the phone cameras that I had around the time, just like taking, selfies, photos like that. I was a little emo kid, so of course I was already taking like a lot of selfies and photos like that back then. And then over the years it just kept being on phones and everything. And then on the end of 2019, I think it was, I got myself this year, I changed to an iPhone again because this got announced with like being like, oh, this like cool camera and everything. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna blow my money on this, and I just wanted a phone that I could keep forever. That's a different topic though. And then in 2020, when the whole, started hitting, and I was just sitting at home all day, I was like, what can I do? And then I thought about, why not try to do photos again? Just try to get in gear and take some photos. Issue though was, I really only had this phone. So how did I do it? And then I just kind of started to think around, because I definitely didn't have the money to get like expensive photo equipment, and I didn't really want to blow anything on anything expensive yet, because it was just like something that I wanted to try out, So what I did then was at first just, getting geared up, doing a little bit of selfies, but there's really only so much you can do when you really only have your arm's length to take photos with. Like, of course you can like go everywhere around and stuff, but yeah, like you cannot really go wide away, and it's always like your arm and stuff. So I was going on to Amazon and just picked this up. This is like a very little dimpy, where's the focus? I don't know, somewhere here. It's like very dimpy little like smartphone tripod thing. So I would recommend going a little bit more expensive than I did. This was just like 10 or 15 euros, and it's super flimsy. Like, I don't know, with how it dangles every time my phone is on it, it's like, maybe you don't want to stick your expensive phone into one of these things if it's like in a position where it could fall down and break and stuff. But the cool thing with these things is they mostly come with a remote. And these shutters are really like what you really need. Like, the tripod is even like just the bonus, I guess, because in the end you could just take your phone and just put it against a cup or something. But what you really want to get is a remote shutter, so you can just like take photos, when you're actually a bit away from the phone and actually press the photo button. So yeah, a lot of the photos that I did then were just with that, just this tripod, just this phone, and no photo studio equipment at all like this. Like right now I have like multiple lights pointed at me and like one main light and a more fancy camera that I shoot the video with. But before it really was just standing in front of one of my apartment walls, and the only light source I really had was the light that came in from the outside. So I was always also kind of limited as to when I was able to take photos, because once it got dark outside I couldn't take any photos because I didn't have any natural light. And I also tried it with just like using my ceiling lights, but those always look pretty ugh. So yeah, that was basically how I took like most of my early photos, and even then I was able to take some pretty cool stuff where people were like, even like writing me like if I used any like expensive equipment or good lights and stuff. And I was just like, nah, it's just my phone and just natural light that's coming into my window. Just to kind of give you an idea that you do not need expensive equipment to take great photos. Just need a little bit of patience, a little bit of time, a little bit of the creative eye, and then you are definitely fine. So yeah, then I kept taking photos, making photos. Then in the middle of 2021, my best friend, darling she is, actually not gifted me, but gave me the cameras I'm currently using as a loan to just play around with, toy around with, take photos, take videos, just try it out. And I guess she wanted to see what I can do with it, and so far I've been just getting compliments after compliments, and she's pretty happy that she gave it to me for now. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun working with it and taking more photos, so that's why like around the middle of 2021 you have like a slight quality upgrade. So I kind of, in the beginning shoots, I still had to figure out how most of it worked, which is kind of funny because when I look into the last few shoots that I did with my phone camera, those definitely still looked a little bit better than the early shoots that I did with this camera, just because I had to get, you know, completely used to something else again. And then yeah, later on it just one piece after another. Got the backgrounds and I got some lights and stuff. Not expensive stuff. There's still a lot of stuff I can improve and upgrade, but it's just like what is in my budget and what I can work with, and yeah. So let's just go over a few of these things. Oh, also before I forget, early on actually, in one of my earlier photos, like this is like a nice background I guess, actually like standing on a like thingy where you can hang it up. But before, when I couldn't use it, when I didn't have any of these, I actually just used a bed sheet. Just a black bed sheet, just pinned it up onto the wall and did it like that. And that also worked. So if you just have like a black or white bed sheet laying around, just hang it up on your wall and you already got yourself a pretty nice photo background. So yeah, like I said, my old camera was my iPhone. The new camera is a Sony Alpha 77. I couldn't tell you too much about like most of the stuff with it because I'm still learning like big cameras and stuff, so I'm not the right person to ask in that regard. But I guess it's another nice example of like, yeah, you don't need like massive expertise or expensive equipment to do nice photos. Of course it always helps, but you don't need it. So after kind of going through my own history with taking photos, I'm just gonna let you know now how I nowadays would go about taking a photo shoot, you know, the preparation process, the stuff that I use, and maybe give you like a little bit of a few ideas as to how you can make photos yourself and maybe learn a little bit here and there to maybe then, you know, get creative yourself, because that's always a cool thing when others like post nice photos. I see it often that like people are like, oh, I don't have a nice camera, or I don't have like a photo studio, so I can't really take. You can take great photos. You just need to, you know, it's a little bit of work. You need to do something for them. So you finally want to take some photos of yourself. What do you need? Well, to be absolutely honest with you, there's really only one thing you need. Well, maybe two things, but just one thing. And that's a camera that you can take photos with. That can be a smartphone. Most modern smartphones, even in the like mid section, take like pretty good photos. So you don't need like anything like, you don't need the most expensive iPhone or the new Samsung Galaxy Ultra, whatever. Most mid-range phones already take like very good photos if you're in good light conditions, I'd say. Otherwise, of course, you need yourself, your ideas, and that's pretty much it. But there's of course some bonuses that you can add to it. And what would that be? Something that I would heavily recommend, especially when you take photos on your own, which is how I do most of my stuff, so I definitely need it, is definitely get a tripod, something to put either your big camera or your smartphone on, and just like keep it in a fixed position. That is already very helpful. And the second thing to that is a remote. A remote is very needed when you actually want to take photos of, like, you know, being in front of the camera and everything, if you don't want to take selfies and stuff like that. Another upgrades, of course, would be lights. If you have like any light sources or something, that might be just lights you have in your room. Shooting outside, I mean, you have the daylight, or when you want to shoot inside and don't have any like dedicated lights, just try to find like a position in your apartment where you can shoot that is close to the windows and then get the daylight in. That's already very helpful and good to use. Background is really, that kind of comes down to the ideas that you have, what you want to do. Of course, you can like do a photo in the middle of your room if you decide, oh, you want like a part of your room being the background, or like just another part of your apartment. Or when you want to have like a flat background that is just like one color, basically just use your wallpapers, you just stand in front of a wall. What I always can there give as a tip is don't try to like go completely against the wall, because as you can see behind me, then you will get harsh shadows very close to you. So just try to like keep a little bit of distance from you and the wall, so you don't really cast too much shadows on it. That's like a little tip I can give you. That is pretty much all you need. I guess like all the other stuff depends on what you want to do. If you want like props, if you want elements in your background, if you want like any like more fancy lights with like having like neon sets or something, that's like all on you as to what you want to do. So when you have all your equipment, of course, from there on, we should get to the preparations of your planned shoot. And the first thing you should always check before even considering to shoot, before even getting into any gear, check your camera, be that your smartphone or your camera. Be sure that the batteries are loaded and charged. Also try to make sure that your camera has enough storage. You always want to make sure that you have like more storage than you need, because you should always, when you do take photos, and I will go on to that later again, always take more photos than you need. You can always delete stuff later on. Second would definitely be to check your equipment, be that your lights or even if it's just the background stuff, but definitely with the lights, just turn them all on once to check that the bulbs are still working. If you have colored lights, just flip through the lights that everything works, just to make sure before that everything works. And with that, even just like try to position everything before you start the shoot, because once you're all like geared up, it's kind of annoying to place everything around again. So just make sure you do that beforehand. And when it comes to the last piece of preparation, brainstorming. You know, just try to find an idea what you want to do, what gear you want to wear, like maybe if it's like multiple sets, just, you know, figure it all out, and also like place them already all in place so you don't constantly have to go back into your closet and stuff. Get an idea early on what location you want. If it's inside, you know what part of your apartment you want to be sure to put all the lights there and like set everything up. If you want to do it outside, of course, you know, pack everything up that you need. Outside, I guess you don't really need to bother about the lights, but like, yeah, camera and stuff, that all of that is nicely packed up and ready to go. And another brainstorming idea that I kind of wrote on for myself, because I always like care about that a lot, and you will kind of want to know how I take my photos, is I always try to see, okay, what mood do I kind of want to put into my photograph. Like there's like some gear photo shoots where I do like a little bit more emotive stuff, then it's like a little bit more like almost like dreamlike, then I have stuff that is definitely a little bit more into the like enticing, sexy, I guess you could say, and there's shoots where just like goofy, funny, and then other where it's just it's completely random idea. For example, this one time where I just slammed my ass into my bathtub with like 2 colored lights and just had like this very arrogant face on it and stuff. It was just fun. Which is another tip I can give you, just go wild, you know, just try stuff. And if you don't like it in the end, you can still delete it, you know? And with all of those preparations out of the way, we're finally gonna go to the exciting part, the shoot. Okay, now we're at the shooting stage. Be sure that you prepared everything that I talked about just now. Of course, it's not gonna be the end of the world if something is kind of finicky. It might be when you're outside and something's missing, but when you're still in your apartment, you can still grab everything. But it's always a little bit annoying, so just make sure that you got everything in order before. And the biggest tip that I can give for the shooting part, once everything is set in place, enjoy yourself, have fun. Like, definitely just don't try to like be stiff or nervous or anything, just loosen up, have fun. And as I said before, just take more pictures than you think you need. When you think like maybe that those were enough, just take a few more. Like I said, in the end you can still, when you go over everything, you can still delete what you don't need. What I also would say, when you have like a position or something and stuff, always try to take like 2 or 3 of the same position, because sometimes it might be just a minor thing that you don't like about like one shot, which you then like about a different one. For example, what I like to always do is when I have like a position set, because if you know my photos, I always put a big focus on my eyes. So like every time I try to like, you know, like take same position, but then like eyes kind of look in that direction, then they look in that direction, and then look in that, and then I try to take like a photo of like my eyes going fucking everywhere. And And then just in the end, like mostly I just pick one of those, but it's good to have like the option to choose in the end instead of having done just one and then you look at it and you kind of don't like it. Another tip I can give, which was something that I failed on a few times, especially with this camera sometimes, is be mindful of your camera settings, especially when it comes with things with like focus and stuff, especially when you do manual focus. Like always be mindful where you set your manual focus and where you actually position yourself. In the beginning, for everyone, I would just say just use autofocus. It mostly works just fine. But yeah, if you want to get like a little bit more advanced, of course, like be mindful and be sure of all your camera settings that you can like set up everything manually. So now that you got all your photos taken, let's go onto the computer and see how I continue on from here. Scene switch. So now that the shoot is done, the next step will be the editing part. This kind of depends on if you want to edit your photos on your computer or your smartphone. I really only do it on my computer, so if you do it with smartphone apps, I really cannot help you there. I guess just look at the app stores, find what you like and just play around with what you can find. So just let me show you my process on how I go about things. First off, I will pull the images from my SD card onto my computer and immediately sort it away into my photos folder. That way I will be always able to find everything. It's nicely organized and yeah, it's just not turning into a mess later on. I kind of have this structure here going on right now where I start off just with the number, like, you know, what number shoot it was this year, then the date, and then kind of like a small descriptor on what I shot. For example, like tactical RGB is like the more tactical stuff. Cap faceless is just like with me in a cap and a face mask on, for example. And then of course the last one we did, Ruroc and full MX gear. And the first thing that I do with these raw files is that I'm importing everything into Lightroom and then just take a peek over everything, kind of sorting out like photos that I really do not like, that just either got too blurry, too messy, maybe have like elements, or where I did a pose where I'm like in the end, yeah, I will never use this, and then just delete those files because raw files are big and you only have limited hard drive space. After that, I kind of just take a peek at like what photos do I like from the shoot, you know, what would I want to do stuff with. For example, this one here is pretty cool. And then I just get to editing. Like Adobe Lightroom gives you like a lot of options to like very quickly, you know, change, for example, the perspective of a photo to completely change that. You know, just get an entire different cropping going on, or you know, all kinds of different things, you know, change the brightness, completely mess it up and change the entire color mood of the image. Just play around with the sliders. The tip I can give with everything is really play around with it, but never really go too hard on any slider, because once you just like veer away too much from the standard, it kind of starts to look very unnatural and very, I don't know, of course you do what you want, but yeah, you don't want to go too overboard. Now, after playing around with the image for myself a little bit, this is kind of something where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of fitting the mood. I think the cropping could still be changed a little bit. I don't really want my shelf there in the back too much, and then maybe also remove a little bit more of the up here, and maybe just turn it a little bit. All right. But yeah, overall this is kind of the look that I like to go for. What I always also like to do is when I kind of have like a kind of color mood and everything made with one picture, I then just copy it to the others of the same photo set, so everything kind of has like a unified look to it when I post like multiple pictures from one shoot. And then the next step I always do from there is just take the finished image and slap it into Photoshop. And then in Photoshop, it really depends on what I want to do. If I want to do like a heavy edit, of course, with like cropping myself out and stuff, changing backgrounds and all that kind of fun stuff, of course, that is a bit more involved. I won't be able to explain everything that goes in there to you in this video. I will also probably would be the worst to explain it well, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube about that. If you need anything like answered when it comes to photoshopping images, just type it into YouTube search and you will find tons of tutorials for everything. But for just a regular photo like this, I like to not do too much in Photoshop. Of course, I'm kind of a little bit sad that it got a little bit too fuzzy and everything, but it's just something where I just have to put up more light, I guess, the next time that I take a shoot. Well, it's not too bad. The first thing though that I always like to do is just to look at are there any elements in the photos that I would kind of like to get rid of? For example, especially very obviously here in the helmet, there's the light and the reflection. Kind of don't like that. Also, maybe the light switch here is kind of dumb looking. So what I will then just do is take the the healing brush, I guess. It's a little band-aid looking symbol here. It's Bereichsreparaturpinsel in Germany. And then just you just take this and then just kind of like draw over what you want to remove. And then boom, it's gone. Same with the light switch over here. Just draw over that and then boom, if I can do it faster, and that is gone. So after that, it really is only still to put my watermark on it and finish up the image. So let me just take my watermark that I have in one of my folders over here. Just slam it into the project, kind of place it somewhere where I like it to be, like down here looks kind of fine. And yeah, I would always recommend, if you want to like be a bit more serious with taking photos, always try to watermark your images. If it's your logo or if it's just like a little text with your name on it, there will always be people who will just download your stuff and crop your logo out or try everything to remove your logo. But when you put your photo up with the logo, you know, you always have the proof, like, yeah, I was the first uploader, you know, this is the uncropped image with the actual logo on it and stuff. It just kind of protects your copyrighted material, so to say. Now that everything is done, all there is still to do is save the photo, post it on Twitter or Instagram, and then just await your reactions, which in most cases are very positive, which always warms my heart and keeps me making these photos. So I really hope that I could help you with this video. Maybe you already took some photos and I give you a few tips how to improve taking your photos. Or maybe you never took photos and now think like, yeah, doesn't look too hard after all. Because I'm kind of tired of hearing the same old excuses of like, but I don't have a camera, you have a smartphone. Or I don't have like a photo studio and I have no lights and everything. You don't need those. Oh, I don't have this and this and that. Blah, you only need yourself, a smartphone, or anything else that can take photos. A basic idea, I guess. And of course, you need to have fun. You need to enjoy yourself while taking photos. There's nothing worse than photos where you can literally just feel from the photograph that someone did it that had like no passion about it. Where it's just like, oh yeah, I slam myself in front of the camera and just feel the image a little bit. And it will take some tries, of course. Your first kind of photo sets will be rough, but it's just learning by doing. Like, as I can just say from my own experience, most of the stuff I just learned by doing it over and over and over and over again, and then just have like small improvements every time. Like when I look back 2 years ago, my first kind of photos that I used to take, they were also pretty rough. And even when I look like now to like 2 years ago when I started doing gear photos more again, and then like compare these to pictures that I do now, there's like already like all such a massive improvements that happened. So you just have to do it, keep doing it, and enjoy it while doing it. Of course, you cannot really force something out of you that you don't find any enjoyment in. So yeah, if there's any questions you still have, be sure to write them down in the comments. If you want to see all the finished photos and everything, you can follow me on my Twitter or my Instagram. They're both linked down in the description. And otherwise, I can really just say, I hope to see some more photos of you. If you took this tutorial and then kind of did your own photos, be sure to share them with me. Just write me on social media. And I guess until the next video, I can just say, this was me, Phoenaxx. And until... If you made it all the way here, thank you a lot for watching and hopefully enjoying this video. This was me, Phoenaxx. And until next time, get geared.